Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Construction Show. I'm your host, Jared Downey. Today, I have to match the energy of Mike Furtaw. Mike is the VP of Business Development at PCI. Mike, welcome to the show. How are you enjoying Ag One?
Oh, it's fantastic. This show, I've been to quite a few shows in my time, but this one continues to be my favorite. The quality of engagement here is unparalleled.
You're kind of a low energy guy. How do you sort of get yourself up for one of these events?
I think when you poured your life into an industry this much, into something as glamorous as sand and gravel and aggregates, I just put a lot of time and years into this. So
yeah,
you see the people and how passionate they are about this industry and the products. How can you not help but match that? So I have a little bit of passion in me.
It's funny because you are very high energy, but people that work in the industry, a lot of times there's sort of a conservative, sort of feel to it. But people are passionate about this industry. You get into sand and gravel. We do episodes in mining, energy. This is, people do it for a living and they do it for their life. Like, people are into it. I imagine at Ag One, you got Nashville. It's probably just your people. Like, the PCI people are just everywhere, I would imagine.
I find that people want to engage, particularly after coming out of 2020 and the pandemic. I think that people really want to engage. They just don't know how to. And so you got to find a way to develop that trust and get and bring them to the present moment so you can actually have a meaningful conversation about how we as a supplier can help them overcome their problems. That's the biggest issue, because I think people tend to not want to share. They don't want to get there and trust. But when you show them that our motivations are win-win, you can really do some powerful things.
Your company, most companies will innovate in some way. Almost every company talks about that they want to innovate in that. Your company truly does. You're doing things. I was going through your product list yesterday. I'll let you talk about it. I won't start rambling on about them. But some of them are, you're delivering very specific needs. Like, one of the ones we always talk on the show is products for people that don't have as much training. I think it's your tensioner. Has a little looking area. It's so obvious once you see it, you go, of course that's how it should be designed. But I was watching your promo video, and one of the things you said is there was a lady, I forget her name, but there was a lady talking. She said, our business is people. We sell products, but we are also selling ourselves. Again, a lot of companies say it. You're sort of taking it to a whole other level, I get the impression of.
It was a very organic process. So the tagline, solutions through innovation, you can't walk two booths around here in this whole show floor and not come across those words. People are using the words innovate, solutions all the time. We want to be your solutions provider. And frankly, when we first came up with the tagline, I thought it was good. And my boss, my senior VP, kept saying, we got to really believe in that. We got to find how that applies.
Yeah.
And it took us till engaging at ConExpo where I realized how we are different and how we can make that be a living thing. Solutions through innovation. And what we learned on that show floor by engaging with users, with producers, is how we engage in listening to what they are trying to tackle out there, no matter how isolated or niche it might be. Hey, I'm having a problem, and our company, our team is so hungry to understand what they are faced with, and then take that back and develop a solution for it. And that engagement, that's becoming kind of a lost art in some cases. I think there's a lot of great things about all the electronic media and the tools we have, but you add on top of that a company in a team that wants to get out there and understand a user's individual needs and then go back and actually create something for that. Our ice eradicator is a good example of that. I know that's a little later on in the script, but that's a product where it's a heated pulley. So you're in Canada, we're in Michigan, snow's an issue. And with producers dealing with ice and snow buildup, it's a real problem in those climates. But guess what? a lot of the world, a lot of the US doesn't have snow and ice buildup.
Mhm.
So you're developing a solution for a very limited market. But we heard that problem and we said, we can solve that. And we go back and we develop a patented solution for that customer. And that's just kind of how we operate. It goes back to kind of where we started
But that
as a machine shop.
Yeah, it's so interesting though. Like, were you there when that product first sort of was even being discussed? Were you part of that conversation?
Yep. We were traveling through Ontario and
Oh, you're on
here
Ontario.
we have lots of problems, lots of problems with, the pulley is freezing up. The belt freezes up. We have to spend so much. It's not only hazardous to get the belt going.
Yeah.
It's labor intensive. I mean, we have people walking up belts or using antifreeze, like a lot of dangerous things, using flame, and that's a real problem that they need to get up and running. And they're like, just make a heated pulley. And guess what? We went back and we couldn't find a way, but we let that resonate, and we kept hearing it. And throughout the next couple of years, my engineering team, who is unbelievable, decided to go back and finally they found this one element, this one part that would make that possible. And then we came up with the solution, and now it's a game changer for some environments. We have a mine up in the northernmost part of Canada. There's a solution spotlight on it on our website that they put the ice eradicator throughout their whole plant because they were spending so much time
Yeah.
getting rid of snow and ice. So I think it's an example of how, yes, I mean, every company is going to listen to problems of users. That's what you do. Producer has a problem. Manufacturers like myself are going to listen to them. I mean, we have a lot of great companies out there. We're small and agile enough, and we engage with one another enough where we're going to go back and put that into practice and develop a solution for it. That's kind of how I think that's how we're different.
Yeah, and it is, and I want to continue to highlight it because when you were talking, that's what came. I realized what is different about you as well is that a lot of the companies, when you see the innovation, you go, okay, it's innovation because you didn't do it. But the industry is doing that. Like, I've seen that in other places. So you can't really call it innovation. Some of your products I haven't seen. Like, they're actually new to me. The product is not new, but the delivery of the product is new. Like that heated pulley, I mean, maybe there is someone else that's doing it. I mean, how long does that take to get to market? Like, that's a real commitment to the R&D side of things.
Yeah, it was years. Like I said, we tried to figure it out. We couldn't. We didn't know of a way to make it happen, and my engineers just never let it go and kept trying and kept trying. And finally found the right component that allowed it to work. And that's part of our patent. And so it took probably a 3-year process. And now, like I said, are we selling millions of heated pulleys? No, but for that customer who has that problem, game changer.
Well, when I was going to say at the Con Expo video, I found it was I don't think you were trying to be funny, but I found it funny because I was like, heated pulley. Okay, so they cable it, and I was kind of going through like, how do you do it? And you made it look so simple. You just plugged it in. And I was thinking
too, because some of these solutions can be so complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is as simple as plugging it in.
Yeah. Yeah, well, from the user side, not from the engineering side, and that is the heart of good innovation. This is a simple thing to add. How does the culture though? Because I've seen in your videos you talk a lot about culture. How do you keep people motivated? Because innovation is a slow grind. How do you keep people engaged?
I like to call it the work we do while the work we do, because I think we're here to make products. We're here to solve problems, but part of our plan as a company is to enhance the economic well-being and quality of life of all of our stakeholders. And so I think if you have a mission statement and a purpose as a company or as a person, we all need to have a greater sense of purpose. And I think you keep people engaged to get out there and keep engaging, because it's not about making this tension indicating takeoff frame is important. But what's more important is that there's a person on the other end of this getting this solution that has a problem. And when that problem's an issue that day, that doesn't just impact the conveyor. That impacts that person's personal life likely too, because guess what? They're taking that home.
Yeah.
I mean, that may be a stretch that's really, really nice. It's really nice way to look at it, but that's the reality. I mean, how often do you go home when work interferes with, it puts you in a mood, it matters. Those pain points matter.
Well,
I think. I mean,
yeah.
so looking at that, going, well, our job here is not just to solve mechanical problems. It is, but people are behind that, and if we understand and learn how to engage with people and what they're trying to face, like that's how this tension indicating frame came to be. You had mentioned it earlier, right?
Yeah.
This is an example where it's cut away, but essentially, what we've made take-up frames for a while, and a take-up frame is designed to help a producer track a belt on a conveyor and adjust the tension. And tension is critically important. Too much tension can cause massive failure. Not enough tension can really affect performance. So we've made frames for a while. A lot of people make take-up frames, and we've made them closed. There's nothing inside. So when you're new and you're trying to learn how to track a conveyor belt, what we reference in some of our materials is we heard producers say it's more of an art than a science. I've been here 30 years. I know how to.
I heard that.
All you do is you give it a bit of a turn, but not too much, just enough, just enough, but not too much. So when I started thinking about this and thinking about that problem, I thought about a scenario where, okay, so say you're having to manage the checkbook for your company. Okay, you need to make sure all the bills are paid. But I'm not going to teach you how to balance checkbook. I'm not going to give you how much money you have in there. You need to make sure all the bills are paid, but don't bounce checks, and make sure everything's paid. You're going to be, I don't know what I'm just going to pay just enough.
Yeah.
It's going to be a guessing game. And take-up frames, based on how we were making them, was a guessing game. We're giving a brand new person who wants to perform no information on how to be successful in their job. And when they get good at it, guess what? With the ongoing labor shortage.
Well, that was the big one that stood out to me. That selling point.
That's a pain point, right? Producers, plant managers are like, look, if I have a guy or gal in there, and they're good, they get promoted. And then you have a new person in that position.
Yeah.
Well, that new person, they're trying to do their best, but there's very little information from the manufacturer of the take-up frame to allow them to be successful. We went, well, how can we be better? That's a pain point. How can we help that person and help that plant manager, help them be more efficient? Let's give them a look. Let's give them a gauge on how much money they have in their checking account. Let's teach them how to balance the checkbook. Let's show them in real time how much tension they have on here. We put a spring in here, which helps some of the shock load. So there are other benefits too, but the real innovation is not making the guessing game. Now you can adjust one end to the other to the same amount. You know how much tension's on there. You're giving them a look at it, and it's a really, really, it's a brand new product to market. It's going to be an impact, a game changer.
How do you bring a product like that to market? Is it like past R&D? Do you have a site that you work on? Do you have client? Like, how do you get it out into real world applications?
We're a smaller company. We've been around for a while, but we're very organic in how we bring things to market. I know I have some there are companies in this industry that are ginormous and know how to do that effectively and efficiently. We'll launch it. We'll soft launch it like we launched it at ConExpo.
Yeah, I saw it.
And we knew it. We knew where it came from. And we knew it came from real problems. We knew it could be, but we didn't quite understand the language on how to propel that message before we shouted it from the mountaintops, right? So in the time from ConExpo to today, we more fully understand how much of a game changer this is, because once you start developing that language and you get it on the website and you start talking at trade shows and you're in the field and you start using that language, you can see people, you can read how painful those problems are. And so it allows you to understand it and develop better materials to speak to them.
Yeah, that is something. You bring up a good point. It's just like we've even learned it in production. Like there's certain words that people understand, there's certain words that they don't. And if you use the wrong language, it can completely change the perception of a product. just the, the word interview. People understand what an interview. People, when we say the word production in video culture, like people in production obviously understand it, but in
Yeah.
video production, a lot of people outside of it don't actually understand what that means.
Yeah.
So they go, what's a production? Does it live? They don't understand, and so that takes time just to develop, like you're saying, that language. There's a book that my business partner, he references quite often, Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. Have you heard of that book?
I have not.
You're writing some of the messaging is very reminiscent of the approach of that book, and that is really development and expansion through following the client, not through a perception of what a client needs. So you sit around in a group and brainstorm, and companies do this. They brainstorm, what could we sell? And you're hoping that the market wants it. In your case, it sounds like you're very much like the heated pulleys, the tensioner. It sounds like you're very much following the pain points of clients, specifically looking for feedback from them before you even start your R&D process. Is that right?
To be fair, we've certainly developed some products in a vacuum. It's a good idea. Let's make it. I mean, we've done that.
Yeah.
But I think where we become most successful is when we are starting with a very organic process. Don't worry about how big, how much, how successful will this be? We have 5-year plans. We have long-term planning, which includes new product development. But we've learned throughout the years, we started as a job shop. So we started with people bringing their ideas to us, and we just produce what they want. And so,
that's how the company started.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we started so people would bring a print to us, and we just make what's on there. And then we realized, we can add value to this. We can not only make what you want, but we can start asking questions to say, have you thought about this? And then we brought engineers, and then we started to develop full product lines. And so we've never lost sight of that key engagement that can change the game and what you create together. Because that's where it makes it interactive. I can make something in a vacuum and give it to you and say, here you go, and it'll work.
Yeah.
If I listen to you, truly listen to you, not just hear you, but listen to you, and then take that back and give you something that's going to make your life easier, isn't that the whole point? Isn't that the reason why we're here?
Yeah. When the pain point comes, is it like the heated pulley? Is that, are you trying to solve the ice issue and then someone suggests the heated pulley, or did a client say, hey, could you heat a pulley?
So that was a case where they said, this is the problem we're having. Can you make a heated pulley?
Right.
So they now, how to do that, that's what took us years to get to.
Right.
And actually took looking outside of the industry. Like, we had some of our engineers do some robotics. They're on robotics teams, and through their robotics teams in high school, they learned about this technology that allowed that product to come into fruition. So you never stop working. I find I'm the best version of me when I can apply things I'm working on at work at home, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes it happens where a customer says, can you make this? Sometimes it happens like this, where this is our Eradicator Max return roll. And so we're a pulley company, pulley and low bearing roller assemblies, conveyor accessories, but we don't make idlers. We don't make belt cleaners, but we make conveyor pulleys. And the Eradicator has been such a widely successful product in this industry because of its unique features. It's patented. It looks like a number of other products, but it has some key features that make it different. So we had a customer going, we love the Eradicator. We're having this problem on the underside of the belt. We put in scrapers, we put in cleaners.
Yeah.
We're still having carryback. In this case, we have a solution spotlight on it. They were having sand that would get in the cracks of a conveyor belt, because as a conveyor belt wears, it will harden and will crack, and then sand will get in there. And if that sand is retained in there, it'll fall all the way down the conveyor belt line. And they had to bring in a vac truck to vacuum out the whole line, right? I love your Eradicator. How can you help me with this? And we thought, we can do something with that. We can apply our pulley knowledge to a product family we don't really know about. And we developed the Eradicator Max return roll, which uses the patented features of the Eradicator, but we've learned that's a really effective belt cleaner. So while we're not a belt cleaner company, what we learned and developed for pulleys and the Eradicator makes a really good belt cleaner. And so we made it into one. And it's just, that's something we're launching too. And it's really effective. It's not a primary solution, but man, if you're having this problem with carryback, this can be a game changer. And so that's another example of, they didn't ask for it. They had, we love your product. How can you help us with this problem? We went, we could do something with that.
Right. So you're hearing that problem. Taking it to market, is that ever a challenge? Because the innovation is when you do something that's actually different. There's a certain type of people that they see something different. I'm the type of person, I see the Cybertruck and I go, oh, it actually looks different than every other truck. I automatically sort of default to liking it just because it's different. Some people see it and they have the exact opposite feeling. They see it, they go, that's not a truck. And it's just a personality trait. When you bring a new product, even a heated pulley, even though it would clearly be a great benefit if you're up in Ontario, and anybody who's spent any time in Ontario, Quebec, you would understand why it gets insane up there in winter.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're still having to take someone and going, hey, this way that you've done it for 40, 50, 60 years or more, now you plug in a heater into your pulley. How does your company, do you find it challenging to actually just get people to, even the one you just, what is that product called again? The extractor?
The Eradicator.
The Eradicator. Yeah, do you have trouble just getting people to sort of stop and go, this is what this product does?
Yeah, that comes down to trust. There's a trust equation. There's a book out there called The Trusted Advisor, and it's in the book, it talks about really meaningful things come as a result of, you can't do a whole lot meaningful until you have trust developed between two parties. And so when you're pitching a solution, patented, innovative, or otherwise, you're not going to look at trying to apply that unless we've developed a level of trust. And that trust equation looks something like, I can do something I say and something I do, credibility, reliability, plus intimacy. What you say to me, Jared, if I know what you want in short code, there's a level of intimacy we have. You're like, when I say this is what I really mean. And if I learn that about you, you're like, okay,
right,
you're helping me out here. You know something about me most people don't. You can add those all together. That's the top line of the equation. The bottom line is whether or not you think it's win-win. The motivation behind it. If you realize I'm trying to sell you something, and it's for me, all that trust is
gone. Yeah.
We don't build it. So when you're pitching a new solution like the Eradicator, like attention indicated take-up frame, we can't really start to do that until you have trust in what I'm doing, what I'm saying to you and providing to you. And so really what we do with a team at PCI is really try to underscore the importance that we need to work to develop trust with everyone, every customer. We need to earn that by doing and saying all the right things. We need to learn about them. And guess what? Our goal needs to be mutually beneficial. Otherwise, we will not have trust. And so I mean, that's a long answer for.
No, it's a great answer.
Said, but that's what I spend a lot of time with the team on. I that's what I have passion for is developing a level of trust.
Do you what kind of feedback have you gotten from the videos that you did, like the one at Con Expo? Because and I'll tell you why I'm mentioning it. There's a lot of videos out there that I've even been part of producing at least one, that there's a voiceover. They walk you through what the company offers, but you don't actually connect with anybody from the company. In your case, you're sitting there talking to the audience, which there's a certain level of courage that it takes, especially on the internet, to go, I'm going to talk right to the audience. If someone digs long enough, they'll see walk and talks that I did back in the day, and I couldn't do them anymore. I got too uncomfortable. But when I was watching, I was starting to sort of get a feel for who you were coming into this interview. I was watching it last night, preparing. What kind of feedback do you get from those videos where you're looking right down the pipe of the camera and you're actually talking to people?
The number one thing I get is well, I got it from my senior vice president. After I came back from the show, he said, what translates really well is the passion.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? When I'm talking to you, and I can be passionate about it because I mean all that. Like I'm not acting. I mean, I may act on stage sometimes, but what I feel about this company and the products is real. I I am I'm all in, man. Chips are all in on the table on how we are different. We're not everybody. With our competitors we have, they're fantastic. They're not us. We're different in that I really believe what we do is different, and the passion I have and that our team has for that comes through in a video like that. I think when you're engaging and you're trying to get there, I think that's the difference maker. I can sit here and talk about, well, this is our take up frame, and that'll be fine for a technical video. But man, I I really love these products.
Yeah.
They're made out of steel, but man, they're cool. They're
No,
so cool.
no, I love the industry. I came back to the industry. I mean, now it's kind of production because I'm doing this, but it's always about industry. And like I said, and you're around people that are very passionate. You can't survive this industry. If you go to these events, you can tell the people that don't want to be there really quick. they stick out. Like it's very uncomfortable because most people there are engaged. Just as we sort of get to the second half, there are a couple other sort of innovative products that you've put out into the market that you want to touch on?
Yeah. So another example of, we talked about the heated pulley and it being kind of niche, right? You're not selling too many heated pulleys in Mexico or Texas. Another example of that is we were in Newfoundland. I was in Newfoundland and touring a facility in January, doing a site tour. And we went on a ship loader. And in their ship loader, had tunnels and their conveyors were up against a wall. And they said, we love your eradicator out there, man. Here's the tunnel problem we have. We want to put your eradicator down here. Problem is that the eradicator is designed to spit out material out of that pulley. Because when material gets in a pulley, it wears everything down. And wing pulleys have a tendency just to recirculate. And so those angles get rid of it. And the eradicator does it 40 times faster than a normal pulley, a traditional wing pulley. And so the problem is that in a tunnel, when it's up against a wall, we don't want it to spit up against the wall because I got to pay a guy when the ship's out there, shut it down to take a shovel and dig out that material against the wall. It'd be great if you could take that and shoot it to one side. And we went, that's a good idea. And at the same time, we've had customers say, because the eradicator is single directional, we want to use in a reversing conveyor because they also had a ship loader on the end where they'd feed one ship to the other. And we said,
oh, okay.
We're going to make the D squared. So we came up with a directional discharge eradicator that allows a customer to shoot all that material in one direction. And if you don't want it for that reason, you can reverse it. So again, not going to be not everywhere. It's going to be niche. Like not everybody needs single direction discharge, but the eradicator D squared is, again, what do we know about the eradicator? What works well with it? How can we apply that another way? This is a pain point. How can we do to solve their problem? And that's how that product started. And I was there engaging with that producer. It just over and over again. That's where the passion comes from. I mean, you're talking to people out there saying, man, this is causing me problems. Help.
Yeah.
And I can't do it myself. I'm not an engineer, but I got the best people on the planet. Like in Microsoft Teams, I call my team name is the best team in the world. And that's what I truly believe that. Because when we find out a problem, our whole team goes at it with that same level of passion and ferocity to come up with something unique. And I could just go over and over across the board with product to product.
How do you end up on that at that location though? Like, is that a client that you've worked with and then did you know of that problem before you went on site, or was it just a walkthrough? Like it's a very specific issue that they're having. How do you sort of get into the conversation where you end up even there on site?
The Eradicator is a product that once a customer uses it, a lot of our dealers, we work with just fantastic dealers. And a lot of our dealers say once they sell one in somewhere, the repeat orders just happen because the Eradicator just is the best of its kind. And this customer had used some of the Eradicators and they said, I can't believe what it does. Can you come here help us do a site survey,
Right.
and we want to get into our ship loader. So we went. I mean, maybe surprised I didn't want to go to Newfoundland in January, but it was beautiful. It was cold. When you're on that ship loader and it's swaying and you can see this, you're like, okay, I am passionate about this.
That's how you know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you know. You're like, you know what? I wouldn't be up there if I wasn't.
Yeah.
No, they saw what we could do for them already. We listened to them. They said, "Can you come out here, do a visit, do a tour?" And it became just a fantastic relationship after that. When you invest that kind of time, and energy,
What would that take to develop though, from the time you found out about the problem? And that specific example, would that, I mean, that sounds like a while to actually get that product back to them and into their unit.
We had already started thinking about the reversible aspect prior to that
Okay.
a bit. So we had some ideas there, but really I gotta commend my product managers, because my engineers and product managers, it's like you go into the war room. They got a whiteboard up and they all just go at it from multiple angles.
Yeah.
We have this problem. What do you do? Go. And they all just start. It's really impressive to see. And so it didn't take all that long because we were already thinking about it. And then we had another example and they're like, this is a pain point. Go.
Yeah.
And we're small and agile enough where it doesn't take an act of Congress, so to speak, to get things going. Like part
Right.
of our philosophy as a company is maintaining that agility. So I would say probably from concept to release, the patent takes some time.
Yeah.
So the patent took the longest part because the D-squared's patented as well.
Well, but then so I realized you're through a distribution model. You're selling. Is it all through distributor? Does anybody buy direct from you?
Not any producers, no. So we started, like I said, as a job shop, a long time ago, and our first path to market was just through bearing houses only. We weren't selling to this industry at all. We didn't enter this industry until 2015.
Oh, okay. So okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No. So we entered the aggregate market in 2015 because we realized our products are innovative. There's potential there, but we weren't necessarily starting the right kind of relationships up. We wouldn't sell to an OEM at all. Like we had no other path to market outside of this one. So in 2015, we looked at it and said, we need to be more relevant in the aggregate industry, in the mining industry. So we set up some OEM partnerships, some dealers. And so we have some strategic dealers, but to sell into the end users. We don't sell to any producers direct.
I see. So, okay. So because that was kind of what I was asking about, like a new product, sort of educating people and getting people on board with it. So your dealers they're dealing, their boots on the ground with a lot of these clients, I'm sure, talking to them when they're coming in and that sort of thing. So when you develop a new product, you also have them championing it for you, right?
Yeah. And that's why when we're selective with who we partner with. We actually don't even have our whole grid map filled in. Like for partners in this industry, there are large swaths of the U.S. that we don't have someone that we work strategically. We can get product to producers. So we sell into every state into this industry, but we might not have a strategic relationship because we're selective and we want to make sure that we have that engagement and we have a win-win there. But they do the heavy work on the ground. We do some, we incentivize what they're doing with making trips and training. But we wouldn't be where we are without our tremendous dealers and OEM support.
Do you, so are you looking, is that part of the business development side though, is to get dealers in some more of these strategic areas? Yeah,
there are several states that we're looking for good partners to take some of these innovative patented products to market. And you might think, well, just find somebody, but we want to make sure it's a good fit. Like we don't want to just have someone to have someone. But like I said, we can sell. We have options. We just don't have a strategic relationship in all areas yet.
Yeah. What makes a good partner?
Trust, open communication. There's a lot of manufacturers have started out by saying we don't sell to producers, and then they sell to producers. I get the real pain there of going, I don't want to start telling you who I'm selling to and opening up and telling their problems, because then you'll take my customers away. I get that. That's something we have to, when we find a great relationship, We work on trust. They say, this is who we're trying to go after. This is who they're
Yeah.
using. This is the problem they're having. And they work with our team to make sure that we are one-to-one. Okay,
Mhm.
why didn't we get that? What, how can we be better? How can we be a better company for you and the customer? That's when it works well. When that open, honest communication is there. Without that, you could do some really heavy lifting, but man, it's magical when you're like the Trusted Advisor book talks about, like, we want to be at their table. We want to be invited to their table as one of their key strategic partners
Right.
to help them be successful. That's how we're both going to do this well.
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to get that book. I've never read it. Is it, what are the types of companies though? Are they like conveyor supply companies? Are they installation companies? Who is what makes the right partner skill set wise?
Well, we certainly sell through a lot of, and we wouldn't be here without the support of just bearing houses, of the
Bearing house, okay.
major bearing houses. They sell to all markets. Like those, they sell to everywhere. Now, for the aggregate market, our dealers are anywhere from equipment dealers to wire cloth and wire screen dealers. Some have a few lines, some have many. Some have rental fleets, but they're largely crushing aggregate parts and equipment dealers.
Right. Okay.
And when we show them, I see it as our job. If I was trying to entertain you to sell my products, I need to show you how to make money selling my products, particularly if you have equipment to sell. Because guess what? You sell a piece of equipment, that's high dollar, right? I need to show you how to make lots of money and satisfy customer demands and be happy with what you're doing, solve problems. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Not going to be sustainable. It's going to be transactional. And transactions are fine, but I'd rather have something strategic.
And yeah, no, and you can see it bleeding through in your videos, in the whole messaging from the company, the other people that were talking on the video. It's just sort of everywhere that you look on your company. Before I let you go, I also wanted to ask about I wanted to ask you about the bearings, because that's a major part of your business as well, right?
Yeah. So there are two other things that I'd like to speak a little bit about.
Yeah, please.
One is our load bearing roller assemblies, and one of the latest things we did there, we have a couple patented products that are, again, listening to what customers are talking about. But one of the biggest, newest innovations we have are two lines. There's an Infinity line, and there's a CSO line. And how this came to be is, I'm going to get a handy. I'm going to be my own trusted assistant. Is, bearings, they're can be seen as commodity items, and not a lot of information is out there in terms of why is this cam follower, this track roller failing, and really getting into there. So sometimes we talked earlier about the story and the language. Sometimes manufacturers, we don't do a great job of making something approachable to you in using the right language, telling the right story. The checkbook analogy, like you can understand. Yeah, I know how that would be if I didn't know how much money was in my checkbook. So when it comes to track rollers and cam followers, we developed the story. We said, okay, why do bearings fail? Educate in plain words why bearings fail. And then, because people have different interests, maybe they don't want to spend, maybe they don't want to buy a Cadillac. We developed an Infinity line, which enhances all of the features that make things, when a track roller would fail. You look at seals, you look at the bearing type, and we went, how can we make that the best it can be? Let's make the longest lasting track roller. That's the Infinity line. It's the longest lasting line. The CSO option is, okay, I don't need all the bells and whistles, but I want an option. I need something in there. And so we have a cost savings option, which is like more of the commodity option. Now, maybe that's not revolutionary, because there are examples of this throughout the industry, but not with track rollers, not with something like that. That can be a big difference maker in someone's operation, whether it's a steel mill or a agri facility. It's that story. It's how can we be more upfront with a customer on this is what makes a product. The same thing really happened with our wing pulleys. So we have so many wing pulleys because of the Eradicator, and people. Well, you said you come from the industry, right? So you wear components. Do you know much about wear components?
I know coming from the industry is I cover a lot of industries, so it depends on which one you're talking about. But yeah, I know a few things about wear components. Yes.
So it's all about people. The language you hear is, well, let's just make it harder. Let's just make. Can you give me that in AR? Can you give me that with a harder material? Let's make it more wear resistant, and that's a good thing. Problem is that that's only half the equation. And when you look at wing pulleys, people don't understand what makes a wing pulley last longer. We've not done a good job of explaining that to somebody. So we said, how can we do better? And we said, let's talk about a wear equation. So you want to first address clean out rate. The wing, before you get into hard materials, spend all kinds of money and trying to make it harder. Let's get the materials out of the pulley first.
Right.
So let's get the material out of there. Once you do that, okay, now we're done. Now look at geometry. So you hear like standard duty, mine duty, heavy duty, quarry duty, super, all these different duties. That just talks about thicknesses. So how about get the material out first, then look at how thick in the geometry. Our Eradicator Max, you can wear the whole thing down. So that's the equation. You look at cleaner rate, then geometry. Last, you look at the material. Because once you've gotten it out of there,
Right.
you've looked at the right shape and the thickness. Now let's talk about hardness. Let's make this thing last. So then we came up with the Procalium Eradicator, where we're putting a really super hard wear surface on the outer portion of the Eradicator, which is going to be the longest lasting option of that type. So it's I think not only just products, it's finding how to actually communicate that in words that are understandable, right?
Yeah, it's very challenging to do. That's why there's some great companies that have great marketing and they have terrible products. Those companies exist all over the place. And then there's companies that have unbelievable products and they just have terrible marketing. You're finding that balance though. That's what's really exciting is you're coming on shows like ours. Your video at Con Expo is great. We'll put a link to that for people. You did a video with different members of your team talking. That was great. It gave it a kind of a vibe to the whole company. You're just sort of figuring out a way to piece together, but you've got the technology. You've got the actual skill set back behind it. I mean, that makes all the difference because when you put yourself out there, you better have it backed up. At an event like this, just to wrap up, at an event like this, what is sort of the goal? When you come to an event, you don't strike me as someone who would just go there just to, hey, here's our product and hope it goes well. What is the goal when you come to an event?
I want people to get to know my team. I work with the most incredible people. And that video you talked about that we produced, we produced that company corporate video because of the Con Expo video.
I see. Yeah, it makes sense.
So my boss was like, I like that, I like the passion. Can you tell that Solutions through Innovation story to a fuller extent? And I went, I can do that. We can do that. So we made that video, and that video was organic. I didn't know what it was going to be, but in the end, what we found, man, through all of it, doing the manufacturing footage it's about people. So you come to an event like this. I want everyone to engage with my team to understand. Our goal is to engage, to seek to understand, and really understand the real world problems because we put it into action. It's one thing to actually seek the problems, but when you see real examples of how that becomes something, that's different. What I conclude with in that corporate video is it makes that engagement irreplaceable. Our goal, what I challenge my team here, back at home in Michigan, is please remember that every customer deserves to experience something that is irreplaceable. They need to leave the store of engagement going, man, that's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the goal. And that only comes through engagement and listening and not being self-motivated. I got to understand that you want something in this, I do too. It's got to be win-win. And so that's, we want to come away from here having gotten some leads and learned some things, but I want people to get to know my people.
And you mentioned earlier about I think you said someone in your team had done robotics, so they understood that was for the heater, right? That was
Yep.
But in your case, you're using so because you just before we started recording, you said you've done some theater work, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So you're taking now that skill set, bringing that into again an industry that is typically quite conservative in their presentation. That's sort of the mode.
Yep.
But when you just do it exactly the same way, there it's hard to distinguish between. And again, I want to clarify: you've got the technology and the products to back up. You're able to push the limit a little bit on presentation because you actually have the product. But you're able to bring that skill set in now, which is sort of a breath of fresh air to the industry.
Well, thank you. It's very generous of you.
Yeah, that really wasn't a question. That was more of a statement. But
No, I learned the hard way because I thought for a long, long time, and this is just I'm just going to get personal with it. I thought there was benefit in being a different person at work than I was outside of work. I was convinced that I need to put on a cape. When I go to work, I put on this cape, and it was different. I was a different person. I wasn't utilizing the best versions of me outside of work at work. In the moment that I started to piece that together to go, oh, the goal is to be the best version of me everywhere in this interview, on the show floor, on a stage, on the airplane. If I can remember that the goal is the same, that's where things start to make sense. I feel sometimes I describe it like Neo in the Matrix. That's when I see ones and zeros. I'm like, oh, okay, that's how it works.
Yeah.
That's the magic, I think. And when you don't have a chance to experience that, and then you do, man, I think that's irreplaceable.
You mean when you see the contrast, of doing it one way and then going, oh, I'm doing it differently now, and feeling that difference. Yeah. Well, and I will tell you, and just also personal, like right now I've got a new baby at home, so I'm tired and all that sort of stuff. And so I was prepping for the show late night after, baby's crying in the other room while I'm trying to focus. And I was having fun watching your videos. It just kind of gave me a little bit of an extra boost. And then our team was having some technical issues this morning with the first episode we filmed about wear parts, actually. And then we come over to your booth. We're, trying to get things dealt with. And you're having fun and joking around with us and bringing all our energy up. So yeah, it's infectious. So when I say a breath of fresh air to the industry, it is nice to see people, not like me. I'm getting paid to have a camera in my face. But people like you who are in the industry doing it and bringing that energy, it's lots of fun. It's great to see people like you being a part of it.
It's real. I appreciate that. And even choosing to say that to me is something that is not expected. So I appreciate that. I learned the hard way. I certainly am not always the best version of myself. I mean,
none of us are.
I definitely fall, but it's fun. I mean, when you realize you can it's a choice. I can either choose to be present to you right now and learn about you, and be open and honest. And it was something that I'd learned through time.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough.
I was gonna say you're not that old.
But no, I didn't know what to expect coming into this, but what I knew, and talking to my wife and my team members are like, well, I think you'll be okay. And I said, well, because I really wanted to make sure, I got to come back from this and I got to make sure I clip out useful portion of this. We're trying to develop video content. We're not created it yet. And so I was really excited about this. And so once I get into it, I just realized all I got to do is just be me, engage with you. So.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you did it at Egg One. It sounds like it's a good event, a busy event. I'm going to let you go. You've got other people to talk to besides me. But Mike, thank you for your time.
Started, man. Come on.
No, I got to cut you off. It's
just kidding.
No, thank you, and I hope we do it again. I really do.
Awesome.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. Of course, we're going to put links to PCI. They've got a very good YouTube channel, a LinkedIn, their website. Go check all of it out. We're going to have a link directly to Mike's LinkedIn, so you can connect with him directly. Everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of these episodes. We have a ton of fun making them, and it seems like the more we make, the more demand there is to make more, so we'll just keep doing that. Thank you for also recommending people and our media partners that work with us. Ton of fun. We will see you on the next episode of The Construction Show.